Hi everybody. I've made a discovery about these hydrokinetic engines. And if you're familiar with rotary craft, you probably already know it's a bad idea to hook up a steel gearbox or steel shaft or a steel anything directly to a hydrokinetic generator, because they just have too much torque and they will pretty much immediately evaporate into a big clump of scrap metal. So I have stepped down the power quite a bit. We have an 8-to-1 gearbox and a 16-to-1 gearbox, bringing down the torque quite a bit and bringing the speed up to about 4 kilorads per second, which is a speed we've already worked with steel gearboxes, so it should be okay. So let's find out. Alright, and this one's set for torque, so if we set it for speed, alright. This is actually just a start. I want to do a lot with electric craft as far as storing energy and then putting it out at will. But to do that, I'm going to need some engines with some really fast speed. And I may need more diamonds. Which is why I've been keeping this extractor handy. I did do a whole episode on mining the diamonds. Using a boring machine. But that was boring. Okay, actually, I got a new microphone for Christmas and I forgot to test it out before I started recording, and I didn't have it set properly, so nothing got recorded. So hey, if things sound better to you, great. If they sound worse to you, well, sorry. Alright, now all we need is water supply. I already have 28 diamond ore. And our first stage is going to take torque. And as it turns out, this speed and torque combination is useful for everything except for stage 3, which takes a lot of speed, which we'll just have to switch over when the time comes. Still, I'm pretty pleased. And with 123 diamonds, who wouldn't be happy? Which is good, because we're going to need to gear things up here. With the current gear set, I can get up to 8 kilorads, but I want to get faster than that. I want to run a pulse jet furnace, which requires a minimum speed of 131 kilorads. I should hopefully be able to do that with just another 16-to-1 gearbox. And we can't use steel because the maximum speed is less than half that. But the good news is the diamond shaft can take 4 megarads. So yeah, speed's not going to be a problem there. And pulse jet furnace, which combined with this 16-to-1 gearbox I just made should give me quite enough speed to produce the inductive ingots that I need for this transformer. Which will allow me to make an electrical setup fully functioning. Because the transformer does much the same function as a gearbox does, but for electricity and electricraft. So now I just need one more thing, which is jet fuel. And there are a few different ways to make jet fuel, but I think my favorite right now, because I happen to have the fuel to work with, is using the fuel enhancer, which will take petroleum fuel from Buildcraft and refine it into jet fuel. And it's a pretty easy thing to make, so this should take mere moments. And fuel enhancer. And bevel gears. And fuel enhancer. Alright, so that's the easy part. And then I'm going to have to put in jet fuel and magma cream, blaze powder, netherrack dust, and tar. Okay, I may have to do a few other things first then. Alright then. I've got my magma cream, blaze powder, netherrack dust, and tar sand, which you get from grinding soul sand. I have also set up the pipes already so that my fuel enhancer is loaded with Buildcraft fuel. And I have set up an extractor pipe which should hopefully pull that out and send the jet fuel over to this tank right up here. At first I set it up closer, like right up on top of there, but I decided against that because this is probably not going to be a permanent setup. So, let's see what happens. Okay, we've got our 32 kilorads and yes, we've got our jet fuel coming out and piping into our jet fuel tank. So after a while, we should have enough to run our pulse jet furnace. And then we'll have something that can really burn this fuel. And we've gotten a good amount of fuel out of this. 6.5 tanks. That's a lot of highly flammable bubblegum. Probably not as much if I was actually planning to use it as fuel, but I just plan on using it as a reactant in the pulse jet furnace. So I'm done with this for now. And we're ready to set up the pulse jet furnace. Although first I'm going to have to get more speed out of this. 4 times. I'm pretty sure I could do it this way without anything blowing up. Pretty sure. Kind of sure. I think it's likely. That is output. And red is output. And pulse jet furnace. And let's pick up this flammable wood. I think that should all be a safe distance. And over here, I have taken the precaution of making or growing some non-flammable wood. And we'll just put a floor under this just in case those sparks fall all the way down. I have been watching some of MC Sentinel's videos. And they're old ones back from the days of Monster, but still a lot of useful information in them. And we want to supply this with jet fuel. And I sure hope this information is current. We're going to stick 2 cooling fans on it and not feed it any water. And that should allow it to get to the full temperature for smelting the things that I want smelted. But before that, I have to grind some gold. I almost forgot, for the inductive ingots I plan to make, I must first have inductive mix, which is gold dust mixed with redstone dust. And this will also tell us whether these gearboxes are going to break by turning them on and seeing if they break. And cool, they didn't break. Alright, as soon as we have this ground down, which doesn't seem to be happening. Let me check my notes. Okay, so we can't grind gold ingots in a grinder. So we'll just get some gold ore and grind that in the grinder. I could use the extractor and get a lot more out of it, but I just want to get this dust, so we'll just take the shortcut, the wasteful shortcut, of just throwing it in the grinder. And gold flakes. And inductive metal blend. And bevel gear. And setting everything for speed. And I suppose it's still possible I could blow up this gearbox. And I'm not getting any jet fuel supplied into this thing. Let's see, I did put the provider here. I wonder if I've got it going on the wrong side. and jet fuel. Alright, there goes that. And let us see whether or not I have made a terrible mistake. Well, it's certainly heating up. Let's put in our metal blend and see what happens. It's already blending. Temperature's still coming up. And basically what we're hoping is that it doesn't go over 1,000, because if it goes over 1,000, the post-jet furnace could melt or possibly explode. And it is throwing sparks, which is why we moved all of the flammable wood away from it. But we're getting plenty of inductive ingots, and the temperature does seem to be holding steady at right about 950. Well, actually it seems to be still slowly rising. Still slowly rising. I think if it hits 980, I'm going to run over and shut the engine off just as it explodes all over my face. But so far, 961. Still 961. Let's order some iron. I mean, as long as we're using this scary thing, why let it go to waste? Alright, that looks like it is holding steady just like we want it to. It also looks like I didn't actually need nearly as much heat as this to do the inductive ingots. I could have used water as a coolant here. But like I said, as long as I've got it hooked up, I may as well make some rotary steel. Well, would you look at that? I was going to be really happy with it not having to expend things like gunpowder and redstone and such, like you usually would do with a blast furnace. But this is actually doubling the ingots into the rotary steel. So yes, this was definitely worth the price of building it. All right. Not only have I produced 8 stacks of rotary steel ingots, I also made 4 stacks of blast glass, which I'm sure will come in handy sooner or later. And nothing exploded or burst into flames or anything. I find that very encouraging. But most importantly, I have produced a bunch of inductive ingots. Enough for me to make several transformers, which is the last step as far as things that I'm going to need to start really working in electrocraft. Which means that not only will I have this hydrokinetic engine, and I'll be adding at least one more wheel to it, but I will be able to store and use that energy at will. I'd love to launch right into that, but this episode has taken a long time to make. And it's time to edit it and put it out into the world for you people. So, we started with what to do with too much torque, and moved on to fuel enhancement, jet fuel, and the pulse jet furnace, as well as how to make inductive metal ingots and tons of rotary steel. If you liked it, click like, and if you want to see more, subscribe. Next episode, we'll be looking into electrocraft, which should make automating rotary craft a lot easier. Until then, have some fun, build something cool, and have a nice day.